Hello everybody and welcome back to the internet. You know, I mentioned the other day how I might be needing to make some changes on this channel soon, as it seems like these stories are just getting less and less popular over time. So I'm thinking soon I want to start trying to focus on maybe more Ask Reddit stuff. I know my Ask Reddit videos get even fewer views than these story ones, but it might be interesting to get into like very topic-specific videos so that we have a lot of consistent stories with each one. And also, it usually drives a lot more discussion in the comments, which I think is a lot of fun. So let me know what you think about that. But for today, we are sticking with mostly stories. Starting with, lie about a return, eh? So this happened a couple years ago. I was getting into home mead making, and I wanted to buy a bottling machine to make things a little easier. I go on Amazon and buy one that is best for the price, but was still a little over $300. So not a small investment either. The merchant sends it out, it arrives, and it's defective. The nozzle on it was manufactured wrong, and liquid couldn't pass through it, which was the point of the whole thing. I contacted the company about it. I was very relaxed about it. It's no one's fault really, but I'd like a working one, and I asked them to send over a new valve where I can send them the whole machine back or whatever they want. They email me back instant aggro. They say I set up the machine wrong, and I probably broke it, etc. We go back and forth a bit. It's very obvious that the machine is broken and he thinks I'm a giant idiot. So it's obvious he's not going to let me return it, and I go through Amazon to get a refund. They send me another email, even more aggro, saying that I was ruining his Christmas, and that I was too stupid to use the machine. He actually used the word stupid. Now here's the compliance bit. I elevated the complaint on Amazon, and there's kind of a monitored contact between me, Amazon, and the merchant. In his first message, in this exchange, he claims to have received the machine, and it works fine. And I really am the idiot he claims me to be, and I am harassing him unfairly. Cut to me in my kitchen, staring at the totally unreturned machine, very confused look on my face. I mean, we had been troubleshooting the thing that morning, and he was pointedly not giving me my return information, so I'm not sure what play he was going for. I come back with, well, if you receive this machine and it works fine, you can return my money and we can be done with the whole thing then, huh? The Amazon rep agreed. The guy never said anything after that. The money shows up in my account, and the guy is out a bottling machine because he couldn't wait for me to return an item before trying to say he was right the whole time. I spent my refund buying a new nozzle for about $35. Works great. Man, I've never heard of like an entitled Amazon seller before. That's kind of weird. I normally just do all my shopping on eBay. One time a few years ago I bought a Wii U on eBay. It was like a bundle pack, but it was like used from this weird seller store thing. And I got it and it had some issues. So I was just like, could I get like a replacement part on this? Or can I just return the whole thing? And they were just like, just keep it. We'll send you the money back. So I was like, oh, okay. So I had this defective Wii U for free. And then I sold it for parts for like $150. So it's kind of funny that so many people are worried when they buy things online. They're like, what if it breaks or what if it doesn't work when I get it? Then I'll be ripped off. And I'm like, man, sometimes you're actually better off when that happens. Internet shopping is weird. Next is, I went on a cruise with family and had to deal with entitled parents and their hellspawn. This was quite a while ago, in March, when I went on a cruise with a family to Vanuatu and some of the nearby islands. While I'll admit, it was fun and actually took my mind off of the stress and depression, but the little hellspawn known as Entitled Kid made it worse. I'm only going to post one of my 5 stories I have of him. So on day 3, I was reading one of the books I brought on the cruise, watching my little brother swim, when a kid, roughly 8 to 11, came up to me, and this was the following actions. He says, "Hey man, what book are you reading?" I was like, well, I was reading One of Us is Lying, but I just finished it. It was quite good. He spots that I have a beverage package and a soft drink package. He says, "Hey man, do you mind if I take your card and get myself a Coke?" I say, "Sorry fella, this is mine, and I don't want to give it to you in case you might steal it." He says, "I said I wanted a drink. That means you must get me it." Since I'm antisocial and hate talking to people, I wanted to end this as soon as I could. Looking back, maybe I shouldn't have. I was like, no. He then ran off in a face that kindergartners give when someone takes their toy. I proceeded to take off my shirt and take out my phone and sunglasses and have a swim with the OP's brother. I got out 10 minutes later to see that my identification pass and my phone is missing. I check under my shirt. Not there. I asked my parents. Oh boy, you guessed. Not there. I looked around for a bit, under the seat, in the pool, around the pool, but it wasn't anywhere. I looked to the bar to see that little turd sitting in one of the bar stools, holding what seemed to be my phone case and an HQ Plus sticker on it. HQ is where the teens aged 14 to 18 can go play games and stuff. I walked over to see my name on the identification slip and my phone with the same crack as mine. I asked the little mole creature whose phone is that. He says, "It's mine, I paid for it." The little turd had the audacity to say it was his. I pressed the home button to see if it had my wallpaper, which it did. I ripped the phone out of his hands and snatched my card back. The kid ran to his parents, crying like a little baby. The mom says, "Excuse me, but why did you harass my son?" I say, "Ma'am, your son stole my card and phone, and now is holding a drink which isn't on my package," meaning he had spent money on it. She says, "Oh, my angel could never do that. We were on a cruise to celebrate his 2 A's he got." I say, "I got straight. It isn't that special. And I would like it if you at least hold him here while I see how much money he spent." I went to see how much money he spent. I had roughly $75 on it, so when I saw there was $38 left, I was freaking fuming. Turns out the little turd had ordered a freaking lunch, ice cream, more lunch, and a ton of crap from the candy shop in the cruise. I printed it out for evidence. That's where I checked my phone. The little hellspawn thought he would like to play freaking Fortnite on my phone, and he freaking turned off airplane mode and also ended up costing me $493 for freaking using data overseas. Thankfully, the security cams checked out with him stealing my pass and buying everything. Unfortunately, I didn't get my money back and still had to pay a $493 fine. At least the little turd got banned from everything. Wow, he should look into, trying to sue those people. That's a little more intense than just a minor inconvenience. So I guess all of the stories today are malicious compliance and entitled parents. Strict new training policy used to my advantage. For background, I'm a field technician for a large office solutions company, and my primary job is driving to customer sites and fixing whatever machines they have service contracts on. To stay up to date with the constantly changing technology, we are required to do regular training classes or online modules. The way we would normally handle this in our smart time management system was to schedule an hour or two during a slow day to find a place with internet and knock out training until you were finished or more work orders came in. A few months into the implementation of this system, we start to get complaints from corporate about how we are using our workday, needing to spend more time in front of customers and so on. One of the new policies implemented to fix this is that all technicians' training must be scheduled as a full training day, meaning that we would be completely out of the field for the day and paid to basically stay home and work on training. Not even a whole week after this policy drops, corporate sends us a 40-minute ethics training module from HR and tells us we have 2 weeks to have it completed. At the time, I was up to date on all my other training, so this module was the only item in my current transcript. I check with the team leads, and they tell me I absolutely should not schedule a midday 40-minute training event because of the new policy. So I block off an entire day later that week, thinking that a manager or someone will notice and send me a nasty email. The day comes, no email, so I just get out of bed, put on some gym shorts, and leisurely stroll downstairs to knock this training out. Even taking my time on it, I couldn't stretch it out more than an hour. I do a brief search of the training site for any other updates, find nothing, and so I flop on the couch for a day of video games and doggo snugs. The following week, my manager, who was actually a really good boss, but is constantly bent over a table by corporate, asked me what training I took a full training day for, so I tell him. He's confused and a bit angry that I took a full 8-hour day to complete a 40-minute training mod, so I clarify to tell him that it only took me an hour. Then I forward back the email he sent to me from corporate about the new training policy, and cue facepalm. He then sends out an email to our entire team letting everyone know that they can approve midday training events for any training less than 4 hours in length. While I feel a little bad that the other techs on my team didn't get the day off, I'm honestly surprised I'm the only one that tried it. Corporate later decided that maybe their techs are pretty good at knowing how to maximize their daily efficiency, and have dialed back the micromanaging. Man, I already feel like I've gone on enough rants about how much I hate micromanagement. This just proves my point a little more. Well, we have one more entitled parent story called You're Raising a Prisoner. So I've worked a decade in law enforcement as a CCO, which is Custodial Corrections Officer, in Australia. I worked in high security prisons, what American would refer to as a max. For the most part, I was on the coal face, meaning the toughest parts of the prison, where we had to deal with the largest units and worst offenders. I was known as Redbeard by the Crims, and I had a reputation for being tough but fair. In the last few years before I retired, we began getting a lot of new type of prisoners. All young, spoiled kids who never learned the word no. These kids were in prison simply because their parents had let them get away with appalling behavior as kids, and they never learned better. It might have been cute when they did not get what they wanted as a 3-year-old and threw a tantrum, but it's not so cute when they're 19 and don't get what they want. Say, sex for example, and act the same way. It was a constant source of frustration that we had to teach these entitled brats the basic manners that their parents should have instilled at the age of 3. So you will understand why this has become something of a personal issue for me. So on to the story. So I was in the shops a few weeks ago getting the fortnight's groceries. There are often parents there with their crotch goblins, but the one I encountered this day was in a league of his own. This kid, guessing 6 to 8 years old, was literally tearing up the place, running down the aisles, pulling things off the shelves, ramming into people, trying to take things from people's carts, throwing things from shelves, and screaming his little lungs out at the joy of it all. His mother did precisely nothing about this. Other shoppers complained to her, the staff complained to her, nothing. She claimed it was just a phase he's going through like all kids. She did not even try to rein him, nor clean up the mess he made. Then he came for my cart. Now, I'm a crusty, old, and rather cranky ex-screw with PTSD. I also have a rather short temper with stupid people, courtesy of my career. The following exchange took place. The kid runs up, grabs my car, and starts hauling on it. When I pull it away from him, he screams at me, and then tries to climb up into it. I say, "No, get down off the bloody car and behave yourself." The kid starts screaming and name-calling. This brings his mother running. Funny how she wasn't interested before now. She says, "Don't you dare talk to my child like that. He doesn't know any better." I say, "Yes, I can see he darn well doesn't know any better. You need to teach your kid some basic manners." She says, "You obviously don't have children." I say, "Actually, I have a son a little older than your own, and my child does not behave like an animal in public. And I will tell you this, if you do not teach your child some self-restraint, then when he hits adulthood, he will be heading straight for prison. Lady, you are raising a prisoner." She says, "What? How dare you tell me how to raise my boy? What the heck would you know?" I say, "Because I've worked as a prison officer for 10 bloody years, and I have a prison full of entitled little turds like your kid. Now show some friggin' maturity and do the right thing by your child, you stupid beep, or else get ready to only see him during visiting time." Yes, I know I lost it there. I was indeed very angry. I admit it was probably out of line. Not proud. Sometime during my tirade, the manager had arrived with 2 staff members who had gone to get him when the kid originally started acting up. The entitled parent was flapping her mouth like a fish out of water, trying to find words, and I realized we were standing in a large circle of silent shoppers. I apologized to the manager for making a scene and asking if he wanted me to leave. He said no, but to steer clear of the entitled parent. So I headed off and finished my shopping. From the distance, I saw the manager apparently having a stern word with the entitled parent, and make her pay for all the breakages caused by her child. A very sullen and subdued entitled parent then scuttled out of the store. It is a small town, so I have no doubt I will run into them again. Sort of looking forward to it. Well, hey, maybe if you go back to working at the prison, you'll get to meet him again when he grows up. Man, I feel like I've been learning a lot more about parenting from all of these videos. Not that I'm going to be a parent in the foreseeable future, but I've learned a lot about how to be a good parent, and of course how not to be a good parent. But the other thing that's just as important as how to be a good parent is how to be married, which is today's question of the day. Divorce lawyers of Reddit. What's the most outrageous reason someone filed for divorce? Oh boy, this should be good. My grandfather's brother was a judge who presided over state-issue marriages from time to time. One couple he married returned 6 months later to confirm the wedding and end their trial marriage. When he thusly informed them that there was no such thing and that they had been married for 6 months, they subsequently broke up. What? So they're like, wait, so we've been married this whole time? Oh, well, now I don't want to be married. Let's end this. Man, I have so many questions for these people. Failed exorcisms. Client had an inner ear condition that caused chronic vertigo, but symptoms could be treated with medication. The husband was an evangelical who was convinced his wife, 1, had become possessed, and that her vertigo and general crankiness with this methods were evidence of demonic possession, and 2, the medication she was taking was enabling the devil to hide inside her, and 3, the only proper recourse was to try various methods of exorcism. He would hide her meds until she got dizzy, and then try various methods of exorcism. This included sweating it out, put under blankets while incapacitated and locked in a room full of space heaters, freezing it out, pretty much the reverse, but with AC, fans, and bags of ice, surprising it out. He would jump out and scare her like it was the hiccups, but instead of yelling boo, he would recite the Lord's Prayer of Psalms. The final straw was that he tried to surprise it out of her by pushing her down the stairs when they were heading out for dinner. No, this guy was some type of executive, and they still went out to dinner after the stairs incident. She asked for the divorce at an Applebee's that night. I had often tried to picture that conversation, as she was adamant that he was a total sweetheart and never acted out of malice or anger. Like, am I being closed-minded for just thinking that there are so many just bizarre and crazy ideas that people have? It's so hard for me to, like, put myself in some of these people's shoes and think like they do. Like, oh, my wife is cranky, she must be possessed. Better push her down the stairs, that'll fix everything. He had an argument with the new in-laws during the wedding and moved out at around 5 a.m. during the first night. Well, that was a speedrun marriage. Don't want that one to go on for too much longer. I was a legal assistant when this case came in, but this lady divorced her husband of 2 months because he got her an iPad case for her birthday, instead of the expensive jewelry she wanted. Oh wow, probably good to ditch a gold digger early, while you still have anything left in your bank account. My dad was a divorce lawyer. He had a client who wanted to divorce her husband for 2 reasons. 1, he did not have enough hair on his chest, and 2, he did not drive fast enough. Keep in mind, this was in the 70s when chest hair was a bit more important. Don't you think she could have spotted these deal breakers, you know, like, before they were married? A lot of these stories make me think that these people were just, like, forced into some arranged marriage, like they didn't know anything about each other beforehand, and then they're just like, oh, I guess we're gonna be living together forever now. Like, how do you not spot some of these things beforehand? I knew a guy from a high school job who divorced his wife of 2 months because she would sleep with a nightlight, but he could only sleep in total darkness, as they apparently never lived together until after getting married. He hated her nightlight so much that he would often sleep on the couch instead, but sometimes he would claim the bed for himself and lock her out of the bedroom for the night. This was an eccentric, late 40s man working at a Burger King who acted like all the other high school coworkers were his best chums, and often told us these weird stories. I'm glad I don't work with him anymore. Yeah, when it comes to like contradictory sleeping preferences, I feel like that's such a small issue that could turn into such a big issue. But I mean, can you have a successful marriage where you're like sleeping in separate rooms? I don't know, maybe. He was frustrated by her hoarding, she was frustrated by his utter uselessness. He filed a divorce, and she was my client. Her prized possessions was a room or two full of scrapbooking materials. His prized possession was a yard full of junk cars that he never worked on. They had no children and no real assets. They hated each other more than any two people I'd ever met, and the only terms they would agree to were these. He gets the scrapbooking stuff, and she gets the cars. My client also took the house, as he had no income and didn't want it anyway. It was the shortest divorce decree I ever drafted. I intentionally squeezed it onto one page, and the judge and I had a good laugh over it. Once the decree was signed and filed, she hauled all the scrapbooking stuff to the yard, and he moved it to the dump. She then called a junk shop I referred her to, and had all of his cars removed from the yard. These two also fought over a toilet brush, as he didn't want to have to buy one when he moved out. I politely instructed my client, give him the freaking toilet brush. I hope I never get trapped in with someone I'm that incompatible with. Paralegal here. Still remember an early case I worked on. A man divorced his wife for her bingo addiction. 10 to 12 times per week she went to bingo. She was 82 and he was 86. But the all-time greatest, two 20-somethings, they were irreconcilable because he kept smoking her weed stash when she wasn't home. I mean, if a couple in their 20s get divorced, then okay, they can move on with their lives, but what's the point of getting divorced when you're already in your 80s? I feel like there's not much else you can do at that point. If you're upset that your wife is spending more time on bingo than she is with you, then why bother getting rid of her altogether? He got drunk at the end of the wedding, she did not like it, and decided to divorce him the night after the honeymoon, which she went to without him. Moreover, this was all an elaborate scheme of divorce robbery, because the guy was loaded, and so was his entire family. They were loaded because they were a family of excellent lawyers, and he was a third-generation lawyer, with all the smarts and experiences of his predecessors combined. Let's just say it did not go well for her. Maybe she thought she could win the underdog fight? I don't know. You know, I've got a friend who's currently married, but back when he was dating, he used to tell me, like, you know, I really want to get married, but I always hear that 50% of marriages fail, and I'm worried that that's going to happen. And I would basically tell him, that 50% number isn't just left up to a coin flip. It's not based on chance. The reason most marriages fail is because so many people out there are just selfish, or incompatible, or just downright psycho. So as long as you're a good person and you can work with them and you're not selfish, then there's a pretty good chance your marriage is going to work out. Anyways, I don't know why I keep talking about like relationships and marriage and having kids or anything. It's not like I'm doing anything with my life right now. I mean, I'm pretty much ready for it all at this point, but I don't meet a lot of girls working from home. So we'll see what happens in the end. But that's the end of all of our stories today. Let me know what you guys think about having more like Ask Reddit stuff, because I like having the discussion. And maybe there are a lot of people out there who want some Ask Reddit videos not read by a robot. So, thanks for watching.